This fairy tale comes from Italy, and it's called The Goat-Faced Girl. Once upon a time, a peasant named Masaniello had 12 daughters, each born 1 year apart. Providing for such a large family was difficult, and Masaniello spent his days working hard in the fields to earn enough for their food. Despite all his efforts, it was barely enough to get by, and the poor little girls often went to bed hungry. One day, while Masaniello was working at the base of a tall mountain, he discovered the entrance to a dark and gloomy cave that even sunlight seemed to avoid. Suddenly, a massive green lizard emerged from the cave and stood before him. Masaniello was terrified as the creature was as large as a crocodile and just as fierce-looking. The lizard sat beside him in a friendly manner and said, "Don't worry, I won't hurt you. In fact, I really want to help you." When the peasant heard this, he knelt before the lizard and said, "Dear lady, for I do not know what else to call you, I am at your mercy, but I beg you to be kind, as I have 12 poor little daughters at home who rely on me." "That's exactly why I'm here," the lizard said. "Bring me your youngest daughter tomorrow morning. I promise to care for her as if she were my own and treat her like the apple of my eye." When Masaniello heard her request, he was deeply upset. He was certain that the lizard, asking for one of his daughters, especially his youngest and most delicate, intended to make the poor girl a part of her supper. Still, he thought to himself, "If I refuse, she'll probably eat me right here and now. If I agree, I'll lose a part of myself. If I say no, she'll take everything. What should I do? How can I possibly get out of this situation?" As he kept muttering to himself, the lizard said, "Decide to do as I say right now. I want your youngest daughter, and if you refuse, things will only get worse for you." Realizing there was nothing more he could do, Masaniello headed home. When he arrived, he looked so pale and miserable that his wife immediately asked, "What's wrong, my dear? Did you have an argument with someone, or did the donkey fall?" "Neither one nor the other," her husband replied, "but something much worse. A terrible lizard has nearly scared me out of my wits. She threatened that if I don't give her our youngest daughter, she'll make me regret it. My head is spinning and I don't know what to do. I truly feel stuck between a rock and a hard place. You know how much I love Renzola, but if I don't bring her to the lizard tomorrow morning, I will lose my life. Please tell me what I should do." After listening to everything her husband had to say, his wife replied, "How can you be so sure that the lizard is really our enemy? Maybe she's actually a friend in disguise. Meeting her could mark the start of better times and the end of our struggles. So take the child to her, because my heart tells me you won't regret it." Masaniello felt reassured by her words. The next morning, as soon as it was light, he took his young daughter by the hand and led her to the cave. The lizard, waiting for the peasant to arrive, stepped forward to meet him. Taking the girl by the hand, she handed the father a sack of gold and said, "Take this gold, marry off your other daughters, and provide them with dowries. Don't worry, Renzola will find a mother and father in me. She's very lucky to have ended up in my care." Masaniello, overwhelmed with gratitude, thanked the lizard and went home to his wife. Word quickly spread about how wealthy he'd become, and it wasn't long before suitors lined up to marry his daughters. Soon he married all of them off, and there was still plenty of gold left to ensure that he and his wife lived comfortably for the rest of their lives. When the lizard was left alone with Renzola, she transformed the cave into a magnificent palace and brought the girl inside. There she raised Renzola like a princess, providing her with everything she could need. The girl was given delicious food, beautiful clothes, countless servants to attend her every need. One day, the king of the land was hunting in the nearby woods and got caught out after dark. Noticing the light shining from the palace, he sent one of his servants to ask if he could stay there for the night. When the page knocked on the door, the lizard transformed into a beautiful woman and answered it herself. Upon hearing the king's request, she sent back a message saying she would be happy to see him and provide everything he needed. The king, pleased by the invitation, immediately made his way to the palace. He was welcomed warmly. 100 pages holding torches greeted him, another 100 served him at the table, and a further 100 waved large fans to keep the flies away. Renzola herself poured his wine, and she did it so gracefully that the king could not take his eyes off of her. After the meal was over and the table cleared, the king went to bed, and Renzola removed his shoes. In doing so, she also stole his heart. The king fell so deeply in love with her that he called for the fairy and asked for Renzola's hand in marriage. The kind fairy, only wanting what was best for Renzola, happily agreed. Not only did she give her consent, but she also provided a wedding gift of 7,000 golden guineas. The king, overjoyed with his good fortune, prepared to leave with Renzola, who didn't even thank the fairy for all she had done. Seeing such ingratitude, the fairy decided to punish her. She cursed Renzola, transforming her face into a goat's head. In an instant, Renzola's lovely mouth became a snout with a long beard at its tip. Her cheeks hollowed, and her beautiful hair turned into 2 sharp horns. When the king saw her, he thought he must be losing his mind. He broke down in tears and cried, "What has happened to the hair that captivated me, the eyes that stole my heart, the lips that I kissed? Am I supposed to spend the rest of my life with a goat? No, I will not let myself become a joke to my people for the sake of a goat-faced girl." When they arrived in his country, he locked Renzola in a small tower room in his palace with a maid. He gave them each 10 bundles of flax to spin and told them they had to finish the work by the end of the week. The maid, following the king's orders, immediately got to work. She combed the flax, wound it onto the spindle, and spun it at her wheel so diligently that everything was finished by Saturday evening. Meanwhile, Renzola, who had been spoiled and pampered in the fairy's house and didn't realize how much her situation had changed, threw the flax out the window. She said, "What is the king thinking giving me this work? If he wants shirts, he can buy them. It's not like he picked me up from the streets. I brought him 7,000 golden guineas as my dowry. I'm his wife, not his servant. He must be out of his mind to treat me this way." When Saturday evening arrived, Renzola began to worry about being punished for her laziness after seeing the waiting maid finish her work. In a panic, she rushed to the fairy's palace and shared her troubles. The fairy kindly embraced her and gave her a sack of spun flax, telling her to show it to the king to prove that she was a hard worker. Without offering a word of thanks, Renzola took the sack and returned to the palace, leaving the fairy upset by her lack of gratitude. When the king saw the flax all spun, he gave Renzola and the waiting maid each a small dog, instructing them to care for and train the animals. The waiting maid raised the dog with great care, treating it almost like her own child. But Renzola was less enthusiastic. "What is going on here? Have I ended up among lunatics? Does the king really think I'm going to comb and feed a dog myself?" she said. Then, without another thought, she opened the window and threw the poor dog out, killing it instantly when it hit the ground. A few months later, the king sent up a message asking to see how the dogs were doing. Feeling uneasy about this, Renzola quickly ran back to the fairy for help. When she arrived at the fairy's palace, an old man standing at the door asked, "Who are you and what do you need?" When Renzola heard this question, she snapped angrily, "Don't you know who I am, old Goatbeard? How dare you speak to me like that?" "The pot shouldn't call the kettle black," the old man replied. "It's not me but you who has the goat's head. Just wait a moment, you ungrateful wretch, and I'll show you what your lack of gratitude has caused." With that, he hurried away and returned with a mirror. He held it up to Renzola, and when she saw her ugly, hairy face, she nearly fainted from shock. Horrified by her reflection, she broke down into loud sobs, unable to believe how much her appearance had changed. The old man said, "Renzola, you must remember that you are the daughter of a peasant. and the fairy made you a queen. But you were ungrateful and never thanked her for everything she did for you. Because of this, she has decided to punish you. If you want to get rid of your long white beard, go to the fairy now, throw yourself at her feet, and beg her for her forgiveness. She has a kind heart and she might take pity on you." Renzola, feeling deeply sorry for her actions, followed the old man's advice. The fairy not only restored her original beauty, but also dressed her in a gold-embroidered gown, gave her a stunning carriage, and sent her back to her husband with a group of servants. When the king saw her looking as beautiful as before, he fell in love with her all over again and regretted the pain that he had caused her. From then on, Renzola lived happily ever after, loving her husband, respecting the fairy, and remaining grateful to the old man for his honesty. Let's just look at some of the themes in here. One theme is transformation through gratitude. Renzola's physical transformation into a goat-faced girl symbolizes the consequences of ingratitude and arrogance. Her eventual return to beauty reflects the idea that humility, repentance, and gratitude can restore balance and harmony. There's also the theme of karmic injustice. The story illustrates the principle of cause and effect. Renzola's mistreatment of others and her lack of appreciation for the fairy's kindness leads to her downfall. Her redemption only comes when she acknowledges her mistakes and seeks forgiveness. Another symbol is the mirror. The mirror held up by the old man symbolizes self-awareness and the importance of confronting one's flaws and character defects. Renzola's shock at her reflection represents the moment of awakening we have, a necessary step for personal growth and transformation. Another theme is material wealth versus inner virtue. Renzola's initial attitude, valuing her dowry over her responsibilities, emphasizes the importance of inner virtues like hard work, humility, gratitude, etc., over material possessions or social status. There's also a theme of testing character. The king's tasks, spinning flax and caring for the dog, serve as metaphors for life's trials, designated to test Renzola's character. Her failure initially highlights her flaws, but her eventual repentance shows her potential for growth and redemption. There's also the theme of the fairy as a divine figure. The fairy represents a higher power or divine guidance, offering opportunities for growth, but also delivering consequences for moral failings. Her forgiveness symbolizes the grace available when someone sincerely repents for their mistakes. There's also the old man. The old man signifies the voice of wisdom or conscience, guiding Renzola to self-realization and showing her the path to redemption. There's the theme of beauty as a reflection of inner virtue. The story connects physical beauty to inner character. Renzola's goat head symbolizes her moral decay, while her restored beauty reflects her renewed humility and gratitude. There's a theme of redemption through humility. Renzola's act of throwing herself at the fairy's feet highlights the transformative power of humility and the willingness to seek forgiveness for past mistakes. There's the theme of balance in relationships. The resolution of the story, where Renzola and the king reconcile, symbolizes the restoration of balance in relationships when respect, gratitude, and love are prioritized. The 12 daughters symbolize the burden of responsibility and also represent the steps of a staircase, signifying progression and growth. The cave represents the unknown or the mysterious opportunity that carries both fear and potential reward. The lizard acts as a symbol of unexpected help or transformation, challenging preconceived notions about appearance and intent. It can also symbolize a test or a trial. The youngest daughter, Renzola, represents innocence and sacrifice, often a recurring theme in fairy tales, where the youngest child plays a pivotal role in a resolution or transformation. The sack of gold symbolizes reward and prosperity that comes through taking a leap of faith or making a difficult decision. Masaniello's dilemma reflects a human struggle between self-preservation and sacrifice, highlighting moral and ethical decision-making. The wife's optimism represents faith, intuition, and the hope for a better life, even in the face of uncertainty. And it also highlights following one's inner guidance and intuition, following one's heart. The lizard's promise symbolizes trust and the idea that appearances can be deceiving. What seems threatening may actually lead to a positive outcome. And the transformation of fortune deals with the dramatic shift from poverty to wealth, symbolizing the potential for life-changing opportunities that arise from difficult choices. Thank you again for being here. Until next time, blessed be.